quickly. The more times that they see that information, the more they remember and the slower that they forget that information. For revision, this means it is most effective when it's repeated and spaced out over time. A little and often is much better than cramming the night before. What we know is that the techniques that children often go to are the most ineffective revision techniques. So these include reading notes from their books, rereading, note-taking, and just highlighting. In order to make learning effective, the processes that the student does need to be effortful. What this means is the student must be doing something active with the information that they're taking on board. A lot of this is based from research, the information that we've got from here, and what this shows is that two of the most effective techniques for revision are practice testing and distributed practice. Probably the most common one of these that's applicable to revision is practice testing. Practice testing is any activity that asks students to retrieve target knowledge from their memory. So for Year 7 students, this could be answering questions in the revision guides that they've got, making effectively designed flashcards and using these maybe with a family member to help them, questions from online resources such as Seneca and BBC Bitesize, recalling definitions of keywords or concepts, using questions on a mind map that they've produced, or annotating maps or timelines with key information. Some of the subjects have provided us with a summary list of the support that students have been provided with for revision. So this includes some of the stuff that's been uploaded to class charts and some of the stuff that they might be able to access in online resources like MathsWatch. If you want to take in more information from that, please pause the video.
Right, so how to revise. So here are some suggested ideas and activities that you can do with your students and children at home to help with the up and coming assessments. So there are things like summary sheets. So for a science, for example, for each topic that appears on the list, there is a summary sheet that has all the core information that you need to revise. Flashcards, which I'm going to discuss in a second, knowledge organisers, mind maps, revision mats, Seneca, revision guide and workbook. So I'm just going to talk through how you could use these in a typical revision session. So if you had an hour, so if we have 60 minutes and we treat it like this memory clock, for the first 15 minutes you are going to try and test and receive and review the knowledge that you're trying to look at. So over that 15 minutes you could do any of the following activities. One, you could look at the summary sheets where they've got the core information and create some flashcards as so. So I'm just going to go through how you would go about creating a typical flashcard. The thing with flashcards is it tests your knowledge and then it hopefully will go from the short term to the long term memory. Not in one instant, it's little and often, so it's frequently testing your knowledge, and hopefully by the time you get to an exam question, that core knowledge is there and ready to go. So how do we do it? So the first thing that we need to do with the flashcard is make them. So if you have 2 or 3 questions on one side of the flashcard and then on the second side, so turn it over, have the answers. Now these flashcards you could have for every topic, okay? You could have about 5, 10, depending on the topic and what it's about. Once you've got the flashcards, you have a nice pile of them and then you're ready to test. So first of all, you need to retrieve. You could either ask yourself the question and have a piece of paper to one side, or ask somebody at home or a friend to ask you the question. Then you could either vocalise the answer or write it down. Complete this flashcard another 3 times, put it at the bottom of the pile and then reorder. If the same flashcard you keep getting it wrong, keep it in the same pile. If you've got it right and you've got it right at least 3 times, then put that into a separate pile and keep repeating. If you use this order with your flashcards, that knowledge should stick and hopefully go into your long-term knowledge. Here is an example of what it could look like. So the front of your flashcard with 3 questions, no more than 3. The back of the flashcard, answers with 3. There are various variations of flashcards, but this is a typical one that most students find helpful. Within that 15 minutes of that memory clock, you could also do a mind map, you could complete a revision mat, you could do a knowledge organiser, any of those. So we've got some examples here to show you. So a knowledge organiser like this, where you've got pictures or visual images of the topic, and then you have to write down as many notes as you could. Either your teacher would supply these, or you could make your own for each topic. The second diagram gives the idea of a mind map. You can make a mind map using those summary sheets like we mentioned before, and using your exercise books and using online resources as well. So how to revise then? So those are a few suggestions there for your revision. So we've talked about flashcards, knowledge organisers, mind maps, revision mats, and we're going to talk about these other two at the bottom next. So you've done your first 15 minutes of reviewing that knowledge. Now we need to test it. So I would then spend about 20-25 minutes testing that knowledge. How are you going to do that? There are 2 or 3 different ways to do this depending on the subject. For example, in science, you could use Seneca, which does use for multiple subjects, not just science, but Seneca has loads of questions, a series of questions where it's testing your knowledge repeatedly. As well as that, you could use your revision guide and workbook, which goes through the content and the questions relate to that. Those are just 2 suggestions. For each subject, there are various different ways of getting questions to test your knowledge. Once that 20-25 minutes is complete, you then need roughly around 10 minutes to review the knowledge that you've talked about or written about or completed answers for. By doing what you need to do is make a list of 3 to 4 things that you still need to work on. So the next time you do a revision session, you can start off with those, and that is your starting point. You could adjust the memory clock for a 50-minute session if 60 minutes is too long. See how it goes, and hopefully that will bring you lots of success. Now, exams tend to bring stress. Stress is a normal part of exams, but hopefully we can try and control it as well. And this is just a suggestion at what we call the circle of control. And it consists of 3 different circles. So you have the inner circle, which I'll show you in a second, which are things that you are control of, okay? So what you know and how the things that you could change. The middle circle is the things you have some influence over, not wholeheartedly, but mostly you have some influence. So for example, a revision list, topics that will be on a test. So you know that they're coming up, you can't change it, but you can start to tackle it. And then the outer circle is a place for you to write down the things you have no control over at all, and you can't do anything about. Okay, so for example, other people's actions and the questions on the paper. So as you can see here, that's represented with these 3 circles. So the blue is the actions that we can control. The orangey sort of brown area, those are some factors that we have influence over. And then finally, the red area is the things that we don't have our sort of influence on. So what we can try and do, you could either approach this in 2 different ways to help reduce your stress and anxiety about exams. You can cut these statements out or make your own circles, so do 3 circles and write down the statements into it. So copy the statements into your own circle of control, or you could write a list to help compile your own circle of control. Either is fine, and hopefully that will help you to reduce your stress levels and any anxiety you might have. Some other suggestions to help you relax, if you like, during exams, because it is, as we said before, a stressful time, but hopefully, you know, as I say, stress is a normal part of that process. We can help to reduce that as well by keeping calm. How do we keep calm? We can do some breathing exercises. Okay, we can focus on the paper, so make sure you read those instructions before you start the paper. Think about any advice that your teachers have given you about approaching the paper. And think about just breathing and taking a breath before you open the next page. Move on if you get stuck. You'll have time at the end, as long as you time yourself in that paper, do all the questions you can do, and then go back to the beginning. Remember, the exam is not a race. Take your time through each question, think clearly, and then go back if you've got time. But remember, it isn't a race. You will have time as you've managed to sort that out before you even start the exam. Other activities to help train the mind are these, as you can sort of see here. So for example, If you sort of think you might need help with memory or processing, think about these ones in bold here. So as it suggests about reading a book, learn how to do it, Rubik's Cube, play a card game or some sort of game, so chess for example. These are activities that help to train the mind, but also give your mind a break from exam stress and hopefully redirect you to think this is a bit of fun before you start doing some hard work with the exam preparation and practice. But remember as well to be active. The idea with the memory clock is you have set time to do certain things and activities to help with revision, but you're not sitting there for hours on end. It's to help guide you during that revision session and to make it the most productive and also the most effective. Remember, it's little and often.